Right, hello and welcome to another Expert Inside interview. My name is John Golden from SalesPOP, online sales magazine and Pipeliner CRM, joining you as usual from a sunny San Diego. And today I'm delighted to be joined by Stewart Cohen, who is in probably an equally, if not even hotter, Dallas, Texas. How are you doing, Stewart?
I'm doing great, John. Thanks for having me today. And actually, ironically enough, it's not that hot today. You could stand outside. You guys have great weather all the time. For us, it's not every day.
Yeah, and Stuart, you have been in the photography and film industry for many years. You've written books. You have a company, SE Pictures. You worked with major clients like American Airlines, AT&T, Coca-Cola, etc. You acquired Footage and Imagery House, Superstock in 2019. And what I wanted to talk to you today about somebody who's involved in this industry that is going through, I would say, probably some of the biggest disruptions. Probably since the digital camera itself, probably the biggest disruptions. With AI and that, etc. So, but I wanted to get from your perspective is how you when you're in an industry that's going through major changes like this and rapid changes, how do you as a business person, how do you navigate through those changes?
Well, that's a good question, and there are a lot of answers to it. I think the the speed in which this AI technology has come on, I kind of gauged. It was about 2 years
Mhm.
ago, November, when the first Mid Journey came out. And everyone said, "Oh, it'll be years, it'll be years, it'll be years." But seeing how digital technology evolved, and it technology just gets faster and faster and
Yeah.
faster. So I was like, "No, guys, it's going to be a lot quicker than that." And they're like, "Well, it's going to affect still photography, but it's not really going to affect film." And I'm like, "Yeah, I think you're wrong. I
Hmm.
think it will affect everything, and it'll affect it quickly." And looking at it from a creator versus a business owner, you get two different perspectives, and
Hmm.
I'm happy to share both with you.
Yeah.
But your first question is, as a business owner, um, I think you have to be very educated. You have to really, really try to dig deep to understand what is going on and to try to use it to our advantage wherever we can. There are going to be lower ends of the market that will disappear.
Hmm.
you know but quite honestly, when digital came along, that happened as well. And when iPhones became good enough to shoot on, it continually nibbles away at the bottom end of the market.
Hmm.
Luckily, we try to aim somewhere in the middle to high end of the market, so we're a little bit more isolated. But like, you see it in everything. Technology is going to usurp us all.
Hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. I guess the other challenge, probably one that you're coming up against a lot now, is the whole ownership and IP and copyright, and that particularly as people are starting. Well, number one is people always had a bit of a tenuous idea about copyright when it comes to photos, anyway, right? I mean, lay people, shall we say?
Correct. That's correct.
And that's probably going to get a little worse now with AI.
That is the case for sure. I think, but when you're dealing with ad agencies and big multinational corporations, they're not stealing pictures.
Hmm.
Um, they don't want to end up in any kind of a courtroom. So yes, with the proliferation of social, yes, some pictures got used in social posts and stuff like that. To a certain extent, it's going to be hard to fight. It's like you're
Hmm.
fighting a wave coming in. In the big professional sense of the word, you know, people are still paying to use your content. Um, I think, I don't know if you were getting at this, but I could definitely touch on this. Is when you get into these large learning models
Hmm.
that are like scraping the web to learn, and then using all that information to help generate new content. I mean, that's a tough one because it's pretty hard to
Yeah.
tell. Oh yeah, 1/320th of that image was from me.
Hmm.
But here's the funny thing, and it's a little bit sad, but the people that were most interested in protecting their copyright, call it the professional photographers and filmmakers, were also some of the first people to license their whole libraries to science, to AI companies
Mm,
to scrape their content and to put it into their large learning model because they get paid for it, like upfront,
yeah,
X amount per asset. So it's funny, it's like you could, you know, once somebody caves, the whole industry is gone.
yeah. So putting on your sales hat for a moment, then. So given the challenges, given the changing market dynamics, how do you still persuade people that it's best to go with professionals like you with the service like you? I mean, how do you pitch yourself?
One thing I like to do is one, we could do it on command.
Hmm.
I mean, prompting is still a challenge and it still doesn't look real. Our differentiator is really the fact that you could tell us exactly what you want and
Hmm.
we'll give you that plus some.
Right.
And when you're dealing with big ad agencies and or corporations that have very specific needs, it's nice to go with somebody that gets exactly what you're looking for.
Hmm.
So that's one thing, of course. The other thing is, and this just happened last week. We were on a project for a publicly traded company, and they had a shot list, which we accomplished. But we also stuff happens on set every day where you could get ancillary content. You pick it up, and it may be something that nobody thought about, but it may be the winning visual.
Hmm.
So there's still something about being on set, having the human touch, um, and allowing those happy accidents to happen. In terms of sales, we try to sell ourselves by showing great work and proving to our potential customers that we could accomplish what they need plus some.
Yeah, because let's face it, I mean, today, as we were just saying before we came on air, like today, everybody's a photographer, right? I mean, everybody's got a smartphone. Everybody takes snaps all the time. Um, but it doesn't mean just because you can take photographs doesn't mean you're a good photographer, right? So how does that today? How do photographers still differentiate themselves from everyday snappers?
Well, I guess a lot of it is sales, John, and that's
Yeah.
why we're here on SalesPOP.
Mhm.
No, I mean, you have to convince your prospective clients that you could do more. Now, one of the things, like what you were saying, the proliferation of say iPhones, and as I was saying before we started recording,
Yeah.
the quality of an iPhone photograph today is better than what our professional cameras were doing in 2006 when we all kind of transitioned to
Mhm.
digital cameras. Um, and the other thing that was just happens, I don't know if it's serendipitously or just during COVID, of course, when nobody was really producing big shoots, everyone had their iPhones, and the whole word authenticity crept into everybody's vocabulary. So everybody wants things authentic looking, um, and meaning it doesn't need to be professionally styled or professional talents. But to the same point, what we're getting now from big advertisers is they want authentic looking content, but in the end, they still want to
Mhm.
produce it. They still want to choose what the talent looks like. They still want to choose what they're wearing. And they go and they nitpick like they've always nitpicked, but it's still supposed to be authentic. And it's supposed to look like it was just grabbed on a phone, even
Mm.
though there's 30 people behind me setting it up and stuff. So the as I was saying, I think the lower end of some of the market is gone because really a lot of people can do it on their own. Even some of the middle level stuff. What we try to do is aim toward the higher end advertising, the stuff where there still are customers.
Yeah. No. And then just tell me then, how do you manage a business like that has, what is it you have, 19 million assets or something like
So,
that. So how do you manage all of those assets?
well, the licensing arm of our company is a whole different story, and this is why I've loved listening to your show
Mhm.
because I went from being a call it was a professional service company, right? Is
Right.
that what they're called?
Yeah, professional services, yeah.
Right, like selling my
Yeah.
abilities. And granted, I had sales reps, but for the most part, it was me selling a lot.
Mhm.
Then I went to this company that, we actually have 26 million assets, still photography as well as video clips. And I have a sales force of 6 that live in the United States and Canada and in the
Mhm.
UK. And I've never managed a sales force before. And I'm learning um, a lot of things, like nobody actually treats it like it's their own business, and I'm trying to instill in them
Mhm.
like some of the great techniques that I've learned, like listening to shows like yours. I mean, you bring experts on, and just this weekend, knowing that I was going to be on your show today, I was taking a couple of hikes and listened to a bunch of the shows, and I'm like, oh my god, how come like it I mean, when you hear somebody else say it, it means so much. And I think the art of sales is something that if you have that gift, you're always going to be successful.
Yeah, no, no, and absolutely, and and I think, and tell me if you're finding this yourself though, when you have salespeople who can really work on that relationship element, who can work on that creative element. That's something that AI can't do, and that's something. And particularly you need for businesses like yours, because it's not. It's. I mean, generally speaking, I mean, you need to understand what people are going to do with the assets, how they're going to use them, and all of that if you want to sell, major license deals.
That's correct. And I think some of the people we found, um, they have that experience in managing licenses, say for
Mhm.
textbooks
Right.
and or for documentary films or for movies. And a lot of times there are rights and additional rights that you need to
Hmm.
get cleared. And I mean, there are people that understand it, and a lot of it comes from people that came from the library sciences, because they're great researchers.
Hmm.
And so what we do is, say if you came to us and say we're doing a book on seaweed off the coast of California,
Yeah.
they would do the research and find you species that are specific to what you're looking for, and then help manage accessing the right content and the right rights for what you needed. So yeah, that is a specialty.
Mhm.
Although on the flip side of that, John, is that there has been a downward there is downward price pressure on
Sure.
licensing fees as well.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
it's getting
consider
to
it.
be a little bit of a challenge because, as you know, if you want a professional to help you, at a certain point you need to pay them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that is the challenge I think a lot of businesses are facing today.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. I think a lot of people are thinking like, why can't everything just be self-service? Why can't I just get everything? And then obviously, when you do use some of those self-service tools, some work fine for some things, but when it gets to be a little bit more complex, you
Right.
really need the human element. And so I think yeah, I think you're right. I think vendors and customers are sort of, at the moment, they're still in this kind of dance trying to figure out what the new relationship is going forward between, buyers and sellers.
Right. And I really think that what would be great is if you could have and I just thought of this as we're sitting
Mhm.
here talking, a self-serve option, which is a more of a value
Yeah.
point, and then and a curated option, where you have help and you could pay for that. It's just like, if you were going on a big trip with your family and you did all the footwork,
Mhm.
and you get it for a certain price. Sometimes when you're using these specialist travel agents, they're booking your hotels and
Yeah.
cars and stuff like that, but you pay a premium, you
Yep.
know, and you go into it knowing I'm going to lean on this person and they're going to help me, and I'm willing to pay a little more because of that.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point there, Stuart, because I think that people who are starting to expect everything just to be handed them or self-service, they also have to realize that there are trade-offs too, right? you get convenience, maybe whatever, but maybe you don't get the same creative level. You don't get the same, nuances or whatever that is. So I think, as I said, I think it's going to be a bit of a learning curve as people understand, that self-service is great. However, there are still compromises.
Right. And I think, look, and that goes across so many different
Yeah.
industries, and it depends on what your level of, what your need is, because for to a lot of people, like, something cheap and fast is totally
Mhm.
sufficient, and that's great. But it's just like, you could go to a fast food restaurant versus going to a fine dining restaurant. You're
Exactly.
still going to get fed, and if you're okay with the fast food, it's cheaper. There's no question.
Mhm.
That was a
Yeah.
good analogy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a very good analogy. Excellent. Excellent. It's nearly gonna be as good as my book on seaweed off the coast of California,
There
which I
you
can
go.
see I can see myself selling the movie rights to that one.
Yeah. Hey, you never know. I watched that movie, like, what is it? My Octopus Teacher. It
Oh,
was
you
really
did?
good.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
I
good.
didn't
It's
see
good.
that one.
Yeah.
I've seen it come up, I just never got around to watching it. That's
Yeah.
good. I might look at it now. Um, but so what are your plans for the future of your businesses? Like, what are your plans moving forward, and how are you integrating technology, but also, making sure that you have the right mix of people for that human element?
Right. I will tell you, I've been doing this a long time, and I'm still excited every day that I wake up. I mean,
Wow.
I still love it every day. Yes, the margins may not be where they were, but I'm embracing. I just think what we do, we're telling stories with
Mhm.
videos and with stills every day, and those stories are what society's made of. And another thing I've been doing is aggregating some vintage archives
Mm.
because of that. Like, the pictures from the 50s and 60s and now 70s and 80s are considered vintage. And it's a unique slice of time, that so I'm trying to aggregate those because, what's old is new again.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So any
knowing
any any snaps of us from the 70s or 80s are now vintage photographs, are they?
I got to tell you, do you remember, like, I remember right when I started my career, and the privilege I had of going into some server room at a company, and they had those big old tape drives and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember it looked really cool. And now looking back, it's like you're watching some vintage movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, it's amazing. It's amazing how it going. So where do you see so where do you see your business going?
I want to be I'm in the media industry, and
Mhm.
I want to stay in the conversation, and I'm going to do that by providing great content to whomever needs it, and trying to be able to tell a good story of having an archive and being a respected resource
Mhm.
for any customer out there that's really looking for some value.
Yeah, and I think and I think there is a huge value in that, in having a trusted source to get things from. Ones, you're going to get the quality of all that, because I agree with you. I think people are going to run into a few little, they're going to disappear down a few rat holes every so
Oh,
often,
sure.
especially now with things change. I think that's why, working with somebody like yourself, I think that's a good option for a lot of organizations, because you can avoid any of these little
Sure.
Prob things that might trip you up.
But think of this also, John, like, so we used to watch cartoons,
Yeah, yeah.
and we trusted it was entertainment,
Yeah, yeah.
and it was a cartoon. Okay, it's cool. So, we just earlier today was looking at an edit of a spot commercial we did, that's all AI generated, and it was done in 72 hours,
Wow.
and it looks AI, but that was part of the angle.
Uh-huh.
And, if you get your head around that, yes, it showed the story transpiring all over the world. I mean, it would have been $1 million commercial, and here, a creative team put it together in 36 hours. So there is a need for that. And
Yeah.
I think the market continues to grow. The media market, as you know, I mean, it's not getting any smaller.
No.
Everybody's consuming more media than we know what to do with.
Everybody's
And
producing. Everybody's producing too.
yeah, so it's like, who's watching it, right?
That's it. I did say this a number of years ago. I was on an interview for something, and it was around the time about when the first few years of content marketing inbound and all that. And I did posit the thing. I was saying, if everybody's producing content, who the heck is reading it? And
Right,
now we're back to the same one. Like, who's looking and listening and viewing?
exactly. And you just hope to attract certain people that,
Yeah.
that have the same aesthetic.
Yeah. Well, I think quality always wins at the end of the day, and I think that's it. You go through this Wild West period of where everything. I mean, you remember, like, even when YouTube and stuff started to get popular, it was like it doesn't matter what it looks like, it doesn't matter how rough and ready it is. There's a certain, like, attractiveness to that. But you've seen over time, we've all made the effort to become a little bit more professional and all of
Yeah,
that. And I think that's the same. I think that's the same. What's happening here is you get the Wild West for a time, and then people will start to drift back towards something more
sure.
professional.
But even on YouTube, you think about it, there's still the guy teaching you how to fix a toilet, and
Yeah.
it's shot on a phone and it looks shitty, but there's a place for it because when you need to fix your toilet, you need it.
Oh, I mean, I tell you, I swear by those people. They fixed
Exactly.
many things. They fixed many things in my house that I would be beyond my capabilities.
I'm with you 100%.
Well, listen, Stuart, this has been fascinating. All of Stuart's information will be below this video. But before we go, please do remind people about what you do.
Absolutely. Well, everybody, we are a production company and we do commercials and still photography for all sorts of companies, corporations, design firms. And then we also have a company called Superstock, which is a media licensing company where we license existing assets, be it stills or video. And we have a team of salespeople waiting to help you source whatever you need.
Excellent. Well, listen, thanks again, Stuart. Thank you for watching and listening. And I'll see you all again very soon. Thank you.
Thanks, John.